Hi everyone. To put my mic on. So we are at our last session from this weekend. And we can talk a little bit about what we can do with this information in daily life. And I think I also explain a little bit about how Lama Tsongkhapa teaches from what perspective, because that will help to understand why he is saying the things he is saying. But if you have any questions, please let me know. I'm very happy to answer any of the questions as far as I can. So within the Gelugpa tradition, Lama Tsongkhapa is the founder of the Gelugpa, which means that all the Gelugpa teachings are following his example. And what Lama Tsongkhapa did, what he was really good at, is explaining from where we are, explaining our situation, how our mind works, and then how to progress in order to get to the state of liberation and the state of Buddhahood. If you would be a Buddha and you start teaching from where you are, you would hear something very different. But Lama Tsongkhapa made it so that we can follow what he says step by step. Yeah. So when we did the meditation, or I think before the meditation, I said actually there was only one truth, that is how things are. But if you say that to people who only have one truth, and that truth is conventional reality, which in actuality doesn't exist in the way it appears, then it is already very difficult. So because people who believe that things are true, that things exist in the way they appear, they need to hear, but there is another truth. So that they get out of that grasping, so that they let go of what they believe in. And then you can think about another truth. But that truth, what we are thinking about, is something that is already there. It is not something that we need to create. It is not something different than where we are coming from. But we cannot see it at the moment. So they talk about two truths. And then they bring it back together. But the two truth is so that we as ordinary beings understand that our truth is not the ultimate truth. Right? So this is where Lama Tsongkhapa is coming from. Very good guidance. Sometimes it can be useful that you listen to teachings that are coming from the outside. And I wonder, and I'm not 100% sure because I do not have enough experience in that, but I wonder if the Dzogchen teachings or the Mahamudra teachings, they teach more about how things are once you have realized. And so that can be very inspiring because that is like where you are going to. So Lama Tsongkhapa gives you the way, gives you the steps. But if you already can think about how it is, how the mind is, where you are going to, can be very inspiring. Right? So when you read Lama Tsongkhapa, you read about coming from where you are. And then he gives you all the steps. Okay. There is a question. Could you explain if a relationship is considered an object as our whole life is filled with this? Relationships are objects, yes. We can think of them. We engage with them. And actually, you know what I find so wonderful in Tibetan Buddhism, if we in the West talk about things or people, you know, we talk about the thing or the people, we talk about the objects. And when you talk about in Tibetan Buddhism, there is a lot about the relationship between the objects. So they're more focused on the relationship than on the object itself. And I find that very interesting, because when we are focused on the object itself, that appearance of true existence is there. You know, we cannot take that away. And because we haven't realized emptiness yet, the belief that follows is there very quickly. If you focus on the relationship, you focus on the dependent arising. You focus more on how reality actually functions. And if we think about relationships, you know, if I call somebody my friend, oh, this is my friend. My friend is a person, is a thing in Buddhism, which, when I think about my friend, that friend appears to be truly existing from their own side. Then I can look at the relationship and say, what kind of relationship do I have with my friend? Why do I call my friend a friend? What makes him or her my friend? Well, because he or she gives me good feelings, makes me feel loved, appreciated, you know, and it is all about me, what that other person is doing for me. And I can see as soon as that benefit stops that I receive from that other person, the relationship changes. And independence on that change in a relationship, I start calling that person not anymore my best friend, but a friend that I have problems with. And if that lack of benefit, on point, the relationship changes so much that instead of thinking about this person as a friend, that person becomes my enemy. And I want to stay away from that person. So when I focus on the person, then I think that was really a bad person. Oh my gosh, I didn't know. I thought he was my friend. I thought he was a good person. But look, now it turns out he's actually a bad person. And we think it is about a person. But what it is really about, it is about the relationship has changed. Instead of experiencing benefit, independence upon that person, I experience harm, independence upon that person. That is what has changed. So if I can see the relationship, I can see much more what is really going on. Right? So relationships are very important. So yes, they do exist. Yes, they are full of that. But how we judge them is still a lot about us. No? We have good relationships when things are benefiting us. When we experience harm, we think we have bad relationships. I don't know, does that answer your question? Looking at relationships, you know, there are different types of relationships. If you look into how Tibetan Buddhists debate is all about relationships. And once you can see relationships, it is so much easier to understand how things work. We say things arise independent upon causes and conditions. The arisal independence upon causes and conditions means there is a cause that leads to a result. That is a causal relationship. And what we normally see is what comes from that, the problem. There is the problem. But if you look back and think, what was it that contributed to that problem? What was happening there that made that happen? And you see, it is not coming out of nowhere. That problem is not existing in and of itself. You know, that is arisen due to causes and conditions. So maybe you can think about what will be the causes and conditions for this problem to dissolve. Or you could think, if it is coming from causes and conditions, then I look into the causes and conditions, and once they have finished, the problem will also finish. Right? So instead of focusing on the objects, we bring the focus to the relationship. Once we can see that, there is so much potential for doing things in a different way. Before I became a nun, I was a physio and I worked with little children, right? Children who had problem with their motor development, also on the sensory level, you know, how some children were very hypersensitive or undersensitive, or so what I saw that many physiotherapists did was if a child cannot walk, we lift up the child and we make it walk, right? And we do that, and we do that again and again and again until the child starts walking, and then we say, yes, now you can walk. And I always had a feeling like that's very artificial, you know. Why is it that the child cannot walk? And then I go and look back. What have you done before that? Did you do the rolling over? Did you do the crawling? Did you do the, I don't know how to say all that in English, but did you make all the steps before that? Which steps did you miss? And I would go back to that. And I would think that is a condition for walking. And if the child trains the condition for walking, it will start walking naturally by itself. If I teach the child to walk just by holding the hands and then moving it forward, I teach the child not even a skill, I wouldn't even call it a skill, a trick, which is not connected in a natural way with the rest of the development. It is almost like it is standing apart from the development. But if I see walking as a result of many causes and conditions coming together, and I go back and look, where are the causes and conditions missing, and I train that, then what I'm doing is connected with a natural development, and then walking will start to happen in a natural way, right? I never trained the skills, never. I always thought, what are the causes and conditions for these skills to arise naturally? That is what I'm training. So then thinking about relationships is very helpful. And it also makes that we do not believe so much in that inherent existence. This is that and this is that. You can see that things are in a constant changing process. Nothing is coming from nothing, you know, everything is coming from something. And the better we understand that, the better we can participate in a way that is not harmful, that is connected to the nature of things, to the nature of human beings. And then what they're going to do is connected to who they are. That's connected with their authenticity. And then it becomes easy. If I learn tricks, you know, that are not connected with my authenticity, they are going to be tricks for the rest of my life. I will never be able to grow further than that trick, because the trick is already not connected with my authenticity. So relationships, very important. In that way, you know, yeah. You want me to say more about that, or are you good with that? So although we cannot see, we don't have an object that we can see with our sense organs, that doesn't mean that they do not exist, right? Because with mental perception, we can see that there is an interaction, and so that is the relationship. So there are many objects of a mental consciousness that do not have any sense consciousness to refer to. Therefore, do they not exist? No, not necessarily. There are many mental objects in the mental realm that we even can perceive directly. You know, for instance, thoughts. We cannot see any thoughts. Therefore, do they not exist? You know, we can see them in mind, but there is nothing in the sense world that can say, oh, this is a thought and this is not a thought. But they are there in our mental consciousness, right? So they are things. They are observed by people. With my mental consciousness, if I have the quality of clairvoyance, for instance, with my mental consciousness, I can see somebody else's mind. Other people might not be able to do that, and I can see somebody else's mind, say, you know, not that I can do that, but there are people who can do that. They see somebody's mind. For them, that is like a normal thing to do, while others have no clue. And if others who do not have that capacity would think about others' mind, what they're thinking of is their own delusions. But with my mental consciousness, I can have the capacity to see straight away in them. With my mental mind, if I make that more subtle and if I develop that more, I can also see other sentient beings that for my physical eye are not visible, because these sentient beings are living on a different frequency than what my eye can perceive. So I can see them with my mental consciousness. And from Lama Zopa, we know that, you know, every day he is doing practices for the hungry ghosts. Hungry ghosts are beings that are suffering tremendously due to craving for something. And so he goes out every evening. And so when the darkness, not the darkness yet, but when it starts to become a little bit dark, he says they come out, they become, and so he sees them. And then he makes many offerings to them in order to satisfy their needs. He sees them directly with his mental consciousness. Right? Does that exist? Yes, it does exist, because those who have developed their mental consciousness can see them. For us, they do not exist. So we need to, we can say, well, for me, they don't exist, therefore they do not exist at all. You know, for me, only things exist that I can see. Or we can say, oh, wow, you know, this teacher, he has many qualities and he has shown on many occasions that he has some special gifts and special capacity. If he sees that, maybe that is true. And maybe if I start developing my own mental capacity, I also will be able to see these beings. So I can use it as an inspiration. Then, once you have developed that capacity, you can check, you know. If they're not there, you can tell everyone, Zopa, he made it up, you know. But more likely is that you're going to see them as well. Right? So then you can check. So that is our mental consciousness. Our mental consciousness, there are many objects that appear to the mind that function, when things function, a relationship functions. So therefore it does exist. You know, we cannot say they do not exist. Actually, Buddhism is all about relationships. It is totally about relationships. And sometimes I wonder if we would change our focus from being focused on objects. And, you know, if you check how your mind works, your mind goes from object to object to object. If we would focus in between the objects and look at the relationship between the objects, I think we would change our mind. I think we would have much less holding on to true existence. All right. Could you please explain the 3 types of phenomena again? So the first type of phenomena is the manifest phenomena, which are the phenomena that we can see directly with our sense consciousness. So yeah, I'm a little bit in, so there are different presentations about manifest phenomena. So I think the lower school says whatever we can perceive with the sense organs, or the sense consciousnesses, these are manifest phenomena. So clairvoyance, seeing somebody else's minds, is for the lower schools is not a manifest phenomena. That's a hidden phenomena. So then there are hidden phenomena. Hidden phenomena, they cannot be seen directly, but we can access to these phenomena by using our rational mind, by using our intellectual capacity, by applying reasoning, so that we're going to see, well, it must be like this. At the moment, we cannot see subtle impermanence. Right? We see coarse impermanence with our eyes. Does that mean that subtle impermanence doesn't exist? No, it doesn't, you know. So how do we know that subtle impermanence exists? By applying logic, by thinking about how things arise and how things function on the most subtle level. That although I do not see change happening in the moment in every object, due to the fact that at a certain point the object is changing so much that it is disappearing, shows to me that, did that change happen just in the last moment? Or did that happen over time? And we can look into our own body, right? We have this feeling of cause and permanent. We know that when things do not go well anymore, that there is change. We know at the end of a life, when we're going to die, that there is impermanence. But if we look into the body from the beginning till where we are now, and we think about the change that has happened, nothing happened like that overnight. You know, it happened day by day by day, hour by hour by hour, minute by minute by minute. Every moment, movement is happening. Every moment, change is happening. Right? So we can see that the cause impermanence, there must be a subtle impermanence that I cannot observe directly with my eyes. But when I think about it with my mind, I can understand that it must be like that. And then I can meditate on that understanding and make it more and more clear until it becomes what we call an inferential cognizer, which means that I realize subtle impermanence unmistakably, but still through a mental image, through a conception, through a meaning generality. And then when I keep meditating on that, at a certain point, subtle impermanence becomes something that I can actually see. It becomes a manifest object for me, right? So Prasangika says that something that was a hidden object at a certain point in time can become a manifest object due to your realizations. So in general, impermanence, subtle impermanence is a hidden object for ordinary sentient beings. But when we meditate, even before we enter into the path, we can realize subtle impermanence. And we can see it directly. And then subtle impermanence becomes a manifest object. So hidden objects, we need reasoning in order to make these objects manifest. But we can make them manifest without being a Buddha. And so then the third type of objects is extremely hidden phenomena. And these can only be seen by the Buddha. By the Buddha who has removed all the conceptions of true existence and all the appearances of true existence. These phenomena, they stay hidden for sentient beings. For instance, the subtle workings of karma. They say that is so, we cannot see that. It is in order to be able to see the subtle workings of karma, you need to be able to see conventional reality directly without conceptions. So that is only a Buddha can do that. So why do we trust the Buddha that what he says about the subtle workings of karma? Why do we trust him and what he says? So we do that in dependence upon checking the scriptures where he talks about manifest phenomena, and we can see that what he is saying about manifest phenomena, that is valid, that is totally valid, and no mistakes. And then we check the scriptures and the teachings on the basis of reasoning. What is he saying about hidden phenomena? And when we start familiarizing ourselves with that, we can see that was completely correct what he was saying. So on the basis of that, we say, okay, the Buddha taught us the manifest phenomena, he taught us the hidden phenomena. We can see, we can scrutinize the teachings and see that what he was saying was perfectly correct, perfectly in accordance with reality. So in dependence on that, I'm going to accept what he is saying about the subtle workings of karma. I have faith in dependence upon the accuracy of his teachings on manifest and hidden phenomena. And in dependence on that faith, I accept what he is saying about the subtle workings of karma. So that is not a blind faith. That is a faith of conviction. That is a faith based on facts. Is that right, Jen? The three types of phenomena? So the way that human beings have been created, we created ourselves, right? Our mind somehow created who we are. But then also how we are educated, especially in the West. We only believe what we see, right? All the rest doesn't exist. We can look at the science, how science works. If science is not able of making something visible, it doesn't exist. And so that is one of the things that His Holiness keeps, I can't say he gets frustrated because I don't know that, and I don't think he has this kind of reactions. But he keeps talking about the mind being something different from the body. And the scientists have trouble going there, because once you go there, that has huge implications for their way of thinking. If I think being born in this body and the only world that I can see, is true, is reality and nothing else exists. You know, we are quite limited because our eyes, they can only see a certain part of the spectrum, and our ears can hear another part of the spectrum of what is actually existing. But the whole spectrum exists, you know. His Holiness always says the whole space is filled with sentient beings. So if we can only see a certain part of the spectrum, and we can see the sentient beings that belong to that spectrum, we see human beings, we see animals, but all the rest of the beings do not belong to the spectrum of our eyes. And then we think there are no other sentient beings. Prove it. I can't see them, so you have to prove that they exist. But if you use your logic, and if you think about how little of the spectrum the eyes can connect with, and then we think how big the spectrum is, and how would it be if we had eyes that could look into that? Right? And so I think when Lama Zopa talks with the hungry ghost, or is doing practices in relationship to the hungry ghosts, and he's using his mental consciousness, that mental consciousness can access different parts of the spectrum that we cannot see with our eyes. So we can develop our mind in that way. Due to our grasping at true existence, you know, we become more and more just this. There is nothing else. I heard from one guy that helped me a lot. You know? He said, if you look into your body, what is your body? You know, there are trillions of cells somehow collected together in a certain way. And you stand in front of the mirror, and these 13 trillion cells, they get reflected back towards you as one human being. How do we do that? That one human being is not existing in and of itself. What is existing is these trillions of cells, all these parts of the body. And then I look in the mirror, and with my mind, I somehow reorganize all these different parts, all these different cells into one person. And then I believe I'm just one person, nothing else, you know. And this person is different from viruses. Well, this man said, actually, we have thousands of viruses in the body. We have thousands of bacteria in the body. We are surviving because we are this living organism with heaps of bacteria and viruses in us doing their work. That is how we function. But I look in the mirror and I see one thing. And I think I'm independent of viruses and bacteria. Actually, they are very dangerous for my survival. But I am that. They are inside me. They help me actually survive. So the more I understand the biology of my body, how it is working, that can already help to think about that self. And then what is that self? You know, if this is how the body exists and functions, then what is that self? Where is that? When we are, you know, when I had a time in my life that I had very strong cravings for food. And I felt like I cannot control, I have to control myself better. And then I found a doctor, and she says, well, actually that craving is coming from bacteria in your gut. They need the sugar. And so they go crazy for the sugar. And that feeling, I call that I, and then I say, I'm craving for the sugar. Right? I'm not saying my doctor's right. I'm not saying I'm right, but I'm saying you can see things from different perspectives. That truth that we are seeing, I am that. That truth is not as concrete as we believe it is. And so there are many ways that we can do this, by thinking what we cannot see, whether that is other sentient beings, whether we can think about all the different planets in the universe, that we cannot go. They also exist, even if we cannot see them, even if we cannot go there. The world is vast, extremely vast, and we are just this one person. So believing that this one person is independent of anything else is, I don't know, one day you can be like, oh, that's not really true. Part of the whole cosmos. You have your workings within the whole cosmos. Every thought that we have in our mind is an energy that is sent out to the rest of the universe, and like a ripple that will go into the universe. They know that when people are meditating in a certain influences many people around them, even if you don't know it. Our mind is very strong. If we would be independent of anything else, we would not be able to have this kind of influence. So if you start thinking about these influences, then you lose the concrete of just being this one. And so I think listening to the true truth, this is the essence. We are not that what we believe we are. There is another reality, and due to the fact that things are not the way they appear to us, when we believe they are, we stagnate movement, we stagnate change. But if we can see, I am not that, I am not inherently existed, I'm not just my body, I'm not just this, then we can allow change to happen, much bigger change than you might even have thought of. Why is that? Limit themselves. They don't see themselves as the limited beings. They know everything is possible. In order to make things possible, you have to let go of the grasping at self, the way we do that now. The more you let go of the grasping at self, the more pure your mind becomes, the less disturbing emotions are in your mind. So the mind becomes more pure. When the mind is more pure, the mind becomes more powerful. When it is more powerful, when you have a wish, there are no obstacles to the fulfillment of your wish. There are people, they think something and it happens. That's a sign that they have a pure mind. Not many obstacles there that prevent things from happening. So I hope that you're going to let these teachings get you out of maybe you're already out of that, I don't know. But there is so much more in life than me being inherently existent. You know, we are also just passing in this life. We're also coming and going. And while we're coming and going, we can engage in certain actions. And these actions, if they're positive, they can, and we have to do that with a positive mind, they can have benefit to many sentient beings, even if we can't see that benefit happening. The less we grasp at the self, the more powerful these thoughts become. If you can dedicate your merits with a mind that is not grasping itself, your merits, they're going to go very far, and become very vast. If you dedicate your merits with a self-cherishing mind, a self-grasping mind that is mainly obsessed with the self, then your merits also, you know, they cannot really go out into the world. They stay here. We still practice that, you know. Don't think, oh, I have this tight mind and so therefore dedication doesn't have any use. No, keep dedicating, but try to expand your limited thinking of yourself in whatever direction you can. Because due to emptiness, you know, sometimes people say, well, it doesn't really matter what I'm doing because everything is empty anyway. But because things are empty, because things arise due to causes and conditions, everything you're doing is important, even small things. If things were not empty, then, you know, things also do not have effects. But because they're empty, they have huge effects. So your actions are very important. You know, never think, oh, it's empty anyway, so it doesn't matter. Because it is empty, it does matter. Totally the opposite. Because it is empty, it does matter. Every action, every thought matters. Right? So even if you have no energy to do something positive, if you can do a very little bit, still matters. Because it is empty. Because it is empty, it will have an effect. And so the better we understand emptiness, the better we can see that karma works, that all our actions have an effect. Because it can only happen within the presentation of emptiness. All right, now I keep talking. Do you still want to do a little meditation? Would you like that? Let me see the Gompa. I can't see without my glasses. Can I have a thumbs up? You want a meditation? Okay. So we can do a meditation on maybe a little bit on impermanence, you know. Impermanence is fantastic in order to let go of the grasping. So we do that. I'll try to do 12 minutes. Maybe it's going to be 4 o'clock and then we do the finishing off. All right, Judy? Okay. So make sure that you sit comfortable. And give yourself a little bit of time to bring your awareness to your body. And then let the mind settle. And then, while being aware of the body, think of its many different parts. The arms, the legs, the head, the skin, the blood, the bones, the nerves, the muscles. And examine them one by one. Observe the feelings that arise from them. And contemplate the nature of these things, their substance, their texture, their shape, their size. And be aware of the fact that your body is at work. There is movement going on each moment. The ebb and flow of your breath, the beating of your heart, the flow of your blood, and the energy of your nerve impulses. Your eye is not involved in any of this. It happens naturally. And then you can bring your awareness of your body to an even more subtle level, to its cellular structure that is entirely composed of living cells, moving, reproducing, dying, disintegrating. And these cells have a constant exchange of nutrients and waste material with their environment. This is everywhere in your body, each and every part of your body. Although you cannot see these subtle levels of the body, from study you might know that they do exist and you can imagine them. Turn your attention to your mind, which too is composed of countless parts. We have thoughts, perceptions, feelings following one after the other ceaselessly. Simply watch this ever-changing flow of mental experiences. And now, after having contemplated our inner physical world and our mental world in this way, we can turn to the outer world. So bring your awareness to your immediate surroundings. And you can picture in your mind the seat you are on, the walls and the ceilings of the room, of the compound, the space around you and objects filling it. Consider that each of these, although appearing solid and static, are actually a mass of tiny particles whizzing around. Then continue to expand your awareness of subtle impermanence, to take in the house or the building you are in, and also the trees, the street, people and animals who are there, cars, and expand that as much as you can. All the things that are in the space are changing. Every object you think about right now, changing in this very moment. Nothing remains the same, even from moment to moment. Soak your mind in the experience. And when the feeling fades or your attention starts to wander, go back to the analysis of impermanence of either your body or your mind or the things around you. Often we resist change. The change is a natural phenomenon happening in each and every moment. So if we can bring our mind to a place where we allow change to happen, letting go of the resistance. That can feel uncomfortable, but at the same time, you can feel a relief. You do not have to hold on to anymore. So then concluding meditation with the thought that it is unrealistic and self-defeating to cling to things as though they were permanent. Whatever is pleasing and beautiful will change and eventually disappear. So we can't expect it to give us lasting happiness. And also, whatever is unpleasant and disturbing won't last forever. It might even change for the better. So there is no need to be upset or to reject it. And then we can dedicate the merits that we have created by doing the meditation, but also by listening to the teachings today, by thinking about them, by reflecting deeply. And we can also take the activity from yesterday as well in our dedication. The whole day that we spent about thinking about the two truths, reflecting, meditating, and know that you have created huge merit by doing this. Huge merit. And that merit is going to ripen one day. You know, you have created the causes for liberation. So one day that merit is going to ripen. So imagine that all that merit has the form of white light. And gather that all together. And then dedicate it, first of all, towards your own enlightenment. That whatever we have done in this weekend may become a cause for your enlightenment, for you being able to develop your full potential of loving kindness, of compassion, and of wisdom. And the only reason why we want to develop this kind of state is so that is the only state in which we have the capacity to know what is needed for each and every sentient being in order to help them to develop their full capacity of loving kindness, compassion, and wisdom. And with that, happiness comes. When we develop these qualities, there is less place in the mind for the disturbing emotions. And then our nature, which is joyful, which is happy, naturally starts to surface. So once we have developed our full potential, then there are no more obstructions in the mind. That joy and happiness can arise freely, strongly. It is never interrupted. It will never disappear because it is our nature. And so each and every sentient being has that nature, and we dedicate so that we might be able to help each and every sentient being connect with that nature, to open up to that nature, to live in accordance with that nature. And then we can dedicate all the positive energy that we have gathered in this weekend also to the long life and health of all our teachers. Namaste Rinpoche, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Venerable Dundro, Venerable Geshe Tenzin Zopa, all your teachers, that they may remain forever teaching us the Dharma, especially in this time, which we call degenerate times, where the minds of sentient beings are so full of delusions, where there is so much unhappiness, where there is so much suffering. May we always be able to find these teachers that show us our true nature, that guide us in developing that true nature. And then we can dedicate for all sentient beings, especially the sentient beings in this world. Acknowledging that we are going through a very difficult time. And may the suffering that is in this world be as least as possible. And may we find tools that are going to help us, that are going to help each and every one of the sentient beings of this world in order to find new happiness, real happiness, true happiness. Very much. You are already unmuted.
Okay,
Judy.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
You can talk if you want.
Can you hear me? I'm talking now.
Judy,
Yeah, I'm talking now. You can't hear me?
you can do it.
I'm trying to do it. I can't. Yeah, it's not working. And no, yesterday it was too close. Nothing else I can do.
Judy,
I'm trying. It's not working. Not working.
can you hear me? Please
Yes,
go. Oh, I
but-
hear nothing. Wait. Oh, it's maybe my mic.
Can you hear me now? You can hear me. Oh, that's good. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So dear Venerable Jamyang, I don't really know where to start because we just want to thank you, all your old friends, all your new friends that you've gathered at Buddha House. I'm getting emotional, sorry. We just like to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for everything that you've done the last 10 years or 10 days. All your teachings have been wonderful. And we also appreciate that how difficult it is to have a virtual visit like this where you can't have interaction with the students. But honestly, here, us people in the Gompa, we feel like you're here with us. We really do. We feel a great connection. We've engaged so much with you. So thank you so much. And also, I just want to acknowledge too that this weekend's been wonderful. And of course, starting at 10:30 is a lovely time for us to start, but for you in India, you're teaching on such an intricate topic, but it's 6:30 a.m. in the morning. So thank you so much.
Thank
and
you.
also thank you for all your cooperation with me over the last few months working together on this tour. And even though originally you're supposed to be here in person, we've actually replicated almost exactly what we talked about doing. So thank you so much. And I've had wonderful feedback from people who say that you're so engaging. Teachings have been so concise and clear, but they've also been delivered with such warmth. And that comes over here too. So we can see your lovely smiley face on our big screen. So, and also for all the technology, working with John with Zoom and YouTube, it's been wonderful. So people can tune in again to YouTube this weekend and listen to the teachings again. And so we'd really like you to, hopefully globally next year, everything's a bit better and we'd like to see you in person, but if not, you know, other virtual tour. So thank you so much, Venerable Jamyang.
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words. Thank you for having me here. Thank you for organizing everything. I know that you have I know the job of SBC, it's not an easy job. And there are a lot of little details that you have to remember and have to take care of. And so everything went really well, except a few small power cuts from my side. But thank you very much for that. And also John and everybody else who has helped to make this happen. From my side, it was very nice to connect with you. And yes, I am missing, you know, being with you in presence, not being able to feel you, to hold you, to see you alive. But at the same time, I do feel, you know, there is a connection and that, I don't know, it's weird with Zoom. It's, I'm trying to tune in and somehow I do have the feeling that that is possible, you know, not in the same way as being present, but maybe on the energetic level, I do feel that is possible. So thank you for listening to my teachings. I have tried to give as good as I can a representation of what I have learned. I do not want to say that whatever I said was without any mistakes. I'm sure there were some mistakes in there and I apologize for that. You know, I also learned we need to, I think as long as we haven't entered the path, maybe even realized emptiness directly, we keep learning to articulate better, to get the essence more clear. And so, but I've done my very best, and I apologize for any mistakes that I have made. Somebody said, where can I read more about these teachings? So the two truths are normally presented as part of the study on emptiness. So there are books. I think there is a book called The Introduction to Emptiness, or The Introduction to the Middle Way, or Insight into Emptiness, which you can read where the two truths are discussed separately, but at the same time, they are not separate from talking about emptiness itself. So any book that talks about emptiness, and I would try to start with not too difficult books. For instance, His Holiness books, Seeing Yourself as You Are in Reality, something like that. That is a very nice book, which talks about the two truths. And any teaching from Lama Zopa Rinpoche on emptiness will help you to get more understanding of the two truths. And there is one book from Guy Newland, which is called The Two Truths, and which is a translation of the true truth as it is presented in the Madhyamika-Vatara, the text from Khandakirti, and Illumination of Thought, which is the commentary from Lama Tsongkhapa on that. So you can, but that is I find it quite difficult to read, especially on your own if you do not have a lot of background information. I would go to more general teachings, and teachings from His Holiness. They're always, you know, he can explain so simple these difficult concepts. So look into that. All right.
And Venerable Jamyang, and
Yes.
the people in the Gompa here now would like to offer a kata. They're going to offer a kata. So off
that
you
is
go,
so beautiful. I wish I could be there and give them back to you guys. Thank you so much. That's such a beautiful gesture.
I think she can see us. Huh? Yes. She can see us. Oh. So she can see us. Yes.
That's the camera there shooting the photo. But she's got lots of different screens on it. So.
Yeah. She's what? Oh, she's unmuted.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I muted myself and I was saying thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, everyone. There's so many people. I didn't realize that you were with so many in the company. Thanks for giving me this opportunity. I really love doing it despite having to start at 6:30. You know, it's now it is here 12 o'clock. My day is still about to start. Well, I did a whole day of teaching. It's nice. It's beautiful. We love you too. I love you all. Thank you so much. And see you next time. Nice to see you, Paula.